In your case, we perfectly know that you were raised in a house full of music. We were all reading your father's books and were learning from them the history of jazz. Tell us about your father and your home and the music you grew up to.
In my childhood, I was basically listening to what was being listened in my house and played by my father and my mother. So my father was playing mostly jazz music, different kind, both traditional jazz, swing music and modern stuff, both American, Polish and international music. My mother, on the other hand, because she was more classically trained, she was a choir conductor. She was playing a lot of classical music, but I don't know, my father might be playing classical music as well. So I was listening to a lot of jazz and classical music, and there was so much music played in the house that I wasn't really looking for anything else for a long time. It was both good and bad. Bad because when I went to high school, I found myself not knowing about a lot of popular rock and pop bands that my peers were listening to. And I wasn't really interested as well. Of course, somebody mentioned some groups, some bands, so I could heard about them earlier or not. I could listen to them sometimes, but mostly not, because I was already had my musical interests set towards jazz and classical mostly. I was listening to a lot of Johann Sebastian Bach, but also Miles Davis, of course, or Bobby McFerrin when I was a teenager. Everyone in music school knew I was gifted and talented in music, but on my diploma exam from the first step of musical education on piano, I think I made like 3 or 4 mistakes during playing four big pieces. So approximately 1 mistake per piece, which is not good for a piano player. So they suggested to me that I should change the instrument. So I wanted to go for to study saxophone very much, but they didn't have place for saxophone students, and they offered me trumpet or bassoon. So I didn't know how bassoon looks like even, and I didn't know what could I play on bassoon or whatever. So I chose trumpet, but I was regretting not to learn saxophone like 8 more years approximately. Anyway, after I started to play, maybe when I was finishing studies in Katowice, I finally started to appreciate trumpet, and now I believe trumpet is much better option after all. So I'm glad I played. I stuck with trumpet. One of the most important bands when I started my so-called professional career in the middle of my studies was a group with piano player Michał Wierba, and we established this group for 2 reasons. One reason was to just play with each other and learn from just playing in a group of similarly good players as we were, being in the mostly the same year actually in the Academy of Music, but also to have a group that plays good together, that has some experience with playing together and going with these groups on some jazz competitions. The most prestigious thing we won was in 2010 Ghetto Jazz International Competition, where we won everything we could win. So both the critics gave us first prize, the audience gave us first prize, and I also won the award for the best soloist on this festival. So. And that was funny because they were paying us by cash, and we had a lot of this cash in our pockets while going to the airports. And I think there was one situation when we went to one of the airports, maybe in Barcelona, in the evening, and the flight was in the early morning, like 6 a.m. And we were like just wandering around or just sleeping on the floor or something, you know, on this, with all this money in our pockets. That was funny, but fortunately nobody was robbed.
When we look at your discography, you have these two sides as to Korea as well. Okay, so the electric one and the acoustic one. Yeah. Why at some point you switched to the acoustic sound?
Well, we started from acoustic one, and at some point actually I established electric group. Piotr Schmidt Electric Group, later on just called Schmidt Electric. And it was, I think, 2011, and it was an option to have my own different group than what we had with Michał Wierba. I wanted to emancipate a little bit and have something on, even though we still had the group together, but it ended a couple of months later. And then I decided, I think I went back to acoustic playing strongly in 2017. I think it was like the strong point to come back to acoustic playing. I don't know, maybe because also of my sound, because I just felt with my sound that was always changing, developing. And after like 10 more years after graduating, I had different sound, you know, and this sound back again suited very well, and all that stuff I started playing, inspired also by some musicians like Ambrose Akinmuzier, for example. I don't know, it just felt good to play acoustic music. I felt really, really strong and really good and comfortable with this sound and this sound effects I was playing on my trumpet in the acoustic setting. we recorded previously some music that was really, like, you could hear that was inspired by Tomasz Stańko and ECM and stuff like that. And then I decided to just record a couple of more tunes and make it a full album dedicated to him. So it was basically already happening. That's why it was so quick. But this album, the critics said it was one of the best albums in my life, and basically in Polish jazz, and we even had some international critics applause and stuff like that. So we were playing a lot of concerts, and I felt so good and with this setting, with this music, with this atmosphere, and people enjoyed that, so everything was okay. So I just focused more on this, but I don't want to leave playing electric and like contemporary modern, like mixing jazz with drum and bass and R&B or with hip hop or stuff like that. This is also something I like very much. So I think I'm gonna go to it as well with some different setting and musicians one day. But now I'm focusing more on acoustic playing.
Polska miłość, 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 miłość.
The last album you recorded is dedicated to another great person in the history of Polish music, which is Wojciech Młynarski. And I wonder, and I would like to ask about the process of working on that songs, because the trumpet is so close to the human voice and to singing. It's a melodic instrument, and I wonder if you could tell us about the process of working not on a jazz compositions and very complex pieces, but the songs from the songbook of Wojciech Młynarski.
Yeah, well, this time actually I think I was more executive producer than musical producer in this album, because I knew who I want to work with. I knew where the music must go, so I wanted to have more jazzy album with some open spaces for improvisation and something I would feel good in. So I was telling this to both Krzysztof Herdzin, who was doing most arrangements, and Sabina Mek, the sister of Wojciech Młynarski, who was doing some arrangements as well. And I knew I wanted to work with Wojciech Młynarski as a vocalist, and most of the other members of this group I was also choosing according to my vision, how I want to have it, with some names also talking about with Wojciech Młynarski, who to take. I just wanted to have it really nice jazz album, but with Wojciech Młynarski's lyrics and his kind of flow and historical attachment as well. So I think we did this. Right now I can tell that the fans of Młynarski are quite content with this album, and the fans of jazz that don't like Młynarski, also they are content with this album, so everything is fine.
You're a very busy person. You have your company, which also releases albums, and you do a lot of things. If you could tell us about those things, and if there's time for not only work but a hobby as well besides music.
Well, I think I got 3 companies plus association, and this could be difficult, but this is necessary in today's world when you want to do a lot of stuff. So we have issuing company, I have my own company to play concerts. I have limited liability company together with my wife to produce big concerts. We have association that runs mostly in Gliwice and Silesia, organizing concerts for different artists. And I also teach in Nysa, in the jazz department. I was teaching 10 years in Music Academy in Katowice, but I resigned. It was just too much. But now I think a lot of time I spend with my two boys, and they are quite young, 2.5 and 5 years old. So I spend a lot of time with them. So in all of this, my wife helps me a lot. So this is really helpful. She's got PhD in composing. She finished Academy in Music in Katowice, and she's really great at composing and arranging. Sometimes she helps me with that as well. My hobby recently, the weather is fantastic, so I started back again to going with my kids on a bicycle, you know, riding on bicycle, or in the winter snowboarding. These are my small hobbies. I don't know, you know. Now with my kids, I don't really have time for extra hobbies. Sometimes I'm reading some old political books, maybe not old political books, but books about old times, or some historical books. I like that kind of stuff. And I'm interested also in like kind of healthy lifestyle, but not always have time for everything that I would like to do.